1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome everyone to the morning announcements. I'ma say my name so you can pronounce it. Bomani Armah. Shout out to early risers, I see who you are. My morning ritual, thanks for having me over. Start with audiovisual, dose of Sankofa. My favorite occasions a few moons away. I'm counting rotations to watermelon day. If you're with me this morning, I hope that you're with it. 2 things that I want and 3 ways to get it. Black solidarity, African independence. Honor the ancestors, prepare descendants. 3rd thing you gotta do is love right now. I mean that in every sense and every way you know how. Now throw them up and say what should increase on 1, 2, 3, peace.
Alright, let's do the mic.
Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, mic check. Welcome to the morning announcements with Bomani Armah on Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. I am Bomani Armah, and we are 186 days away from Watermelon Day at Sankofa. We are here to honor the ancestors, prepare the descendants, and love right now. Friends, as always, I need your help. Help me break the algorithm, pass along some positivity, put some RBG energy into your life. Go join my email list at notarapper.com. Please pass this along. Friends, we start off every morning by doing a libation. Today's libation is for one Mr. Jack Roosevelt Robinson. That's Jackie Robinson, January 31st, 1919 to October 24th, 1972. An American professional baseball player who became the first African-American to play in the Major League Baseball in the modern era. Robinson broke the baseball color line when he started at first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15, 1947. When the Dodgers signed Robinson, it heralded the end of racial segregation in professional baseball that had relegated blacks to the Negro League since the 1880s. Robinson was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. During his 10-year MLB career, Robinson won the inaugural Rookie of the Year award in 1947, was an All-Star for 6 consecutive seasons from 1949 through 1954, and won the National League Most Valuable Player award in 1949. The first black player so honored. Robinson played in 6 World Series and contributed to the Dodgers' 1955 World Series championship. In 1997, MLB retired his uniform number 42 across all major league teams. He was the first professional athlete in any sport to be so honored. MLB has adopted a new annual tradition, Jackie Robinson Day, for the first time on April 15, 2004, on which every player on every team wears number 42. Let's read this Jackie Robinson quote. The right of every American to first-class citizenship is the most important issue of our time. Let me read that again. The right of every American to first-class citizenship is the most important issue of our time. Jackie Robinson. After decades of integration and more immigration, I'd say this is still the most important issue of our time. Between Black people still fighting for our rights through Jim Crow and redlining and police brutality, to new groups raising their voices in protest for their lack of complete citizenship, we often find ourselves on the same protest road as people whose stories we've thought we've passed way back on the path. Jackie proved his citizenship by being a first-class player and human, demonstrating his chill demeanor and willingness to sacrifice for a greater cause, setting a standard because his behavior rose far above that of a standard Negro. In these new protests, we aren't demanding rights because of how we behave. We demand rights because they are our birthright, a long denied by the American system. Jackie used his life in the fight for first-class citizenship, and it is still the most pressing issue of our time. Let's pour a libation for Jackie Robinson. We never forget, so never fear. For homies who ain't here, we pouring out a beer. Because of you, it'll never be the same. We keep saying your name while we pour champagne. For the mothers and the father figures, your flames still flickers, we pouring out some liquor. We're the sons and the daughters of heroes and martyrs. Honor you by pouring out some water. Friends, thank you very much. Remember, there's a whole bunch of ways you can support what we do here. That was our libation for Mr. Jackie Robinson. Make sure you support me at notarapper.com by listening to the new project that I got on babagotbars.com, which is called Baba Bomani's Beatbox Basement, and my latest EP, which is called The Big Slice. All right. I'm also here still heavily promoting the morning announcements merch. Make sure you go cop your morning announcements cup. Honor the ancestors, prepare the descendants, love right now. I'm probably going to slash some prices next week. Make sure I get some sales in there. Thank y'all for planting seeds into what I do. I really do appreciate that. I'm also going to start putting a heavier push on getting this artwork out here. Terrell Arts DC made these amazing Watermelon Day 2023 shirts, and I would love for y'all to cop them. I'm going to keep pushing those as well. Friends, I want to go back and talk again about our book for tonight, Catch That Chicken. I introduced the book last night or yesterday. This book is by Atinuke and Angela Brooksbank. I want to just show you a couple of more pages from this book. This book is the story of Lami. She lives in her compound in Nigeria. I have seen communities like this when I go visit my family in Kenya, and I really love the story that you're able to tell by zooming out from this really larger picture. Let me go back to the page before. Starting off with this much larger picture that is a drawing of her entire compound, and then breaking it down and how this young girl is the chicken catcher in her compound, and how an elderly wise person tells her that it's not all about speed and quickness. Sometimes it's about guile, it's about cunning. This is an amazing illustrated book. Sister Sadia is speedy at spelling, but when it comes to chickens, Lami is speedier. Here we go, the picture of them learning under a tree. Friend Fatima is fast at braiding hair, but when it comes to chickens, Lami is faster. All right, I'm gonna give you one more. Big brother Bilal is brave with the bulls, but when it comes to the chickens, Lami is braver. These are some more pages from this week's book, brought to you by Africa Access. This week's book is called Catch That Chicken by Atinuke and Angela Brooksbank. All right. Make sure we're reading to our kids. Remember, our 3 things is honoring the ancestors, preparing descendants, and loving right now. All right, friends, I really need to make sure y'all understand what's going on. I need y'all to show up at the Frederick Douglass Writing Club. I am going to be doing my Frederick Douglass Writing Club concert this Sunday at the Public Playhouse. Let me play my commercial for y'all, and then I'm going to play you one of the songs that I'm going to do.
This is Baba Bomani, and you know I like to teach through storytelling. Let me tell you about a speech by Frederick Douglass. It's the first he ever made. One of the reasons America is what it is today. He told the story in his book. This is the hip-hop version. I rap as Frederick Douglass. That means first person. Douglass said he was scared, but he was prepared. He knew slavery was wrong, and he wanted people aware. So I'ma speak for me. I'ma tell you how it is and how it's supposed to be. I'ma speak up for myself and for my community until my people are free. I'ma speak for me. I'ma speak for me. I'ma tell you how it is and how it's supposed to be. I'ma speak up for myself and for my community until my people are free. I'ma speak for me.
And I can't wait till Sunday when I perform this for the first time. That beat drops and I get into the story of Frederick Douglass's first major speech. I'm really looking forward to that. Definitely make sure you come through. You're going to get a Frederick Douglass writing journal if you're a young writer. You can also cop one of the Frederick Douglass Writing Club t-shirts, Writing for Freedom since 1838. I'm really excited about making this happen. Let me play this one song for you. It is called Fit to Be a Slave. It is me retelling the story of how Frederick Douglass and why Frederick Douglass learned how to read. When I become president, I'm going to do 3 things. I'm going to double teachers' salaries. I'm going to cut their class sizes in half, and I'm going to make it a graduation requirement that you learn the story of how Frederick Douglass learned how to read. I'm about to hit y'all with that information right now. Friends, this next piece is called Fit to Be a Slave. Baba Bomani, babagotbars.com. What's the most you've ever gone through to learn? Have I read stolen books under candles that burn, sounding out the hard words as the pages turn, trying to stay quiet as your stomach churns from hunger? Have you ever wondered when you were younger if you never taught your letters and your numbers? Could only read when those who guarded you slumber. If you did, you'd be chased by overseers and slave hunters. What if reading was against the law and all your mental capability stayed unused and raw? No books to read, no pencil and paper draw. Would you hide your eyes from every word that you saw? Young Frederick, he was smart and he was, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read is be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Born in 1820s in Hillsborough, Maryland. As an African, he was never treated like a man. They controlled when he was sleeping, drinking, and eating. He saw his relatives sold away and his aunt beaten. As a young child, separated from his mother. Grew up as his master's child, but not like a brother. More like a pet, but more than most slaves expect. Things his young master got, young Frederick would get. That included lessons like learning the ABCs. He would sit with young master as he would learn to read. His young master's mother was Frederick's mistress. He his letters with her assistance. Frederick soaked it all in like all children. He was curious. When her husband found out, he was so furious. Told her not to teach a man the reason that he a slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart, he was brave, because for him to read, misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to behave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Frederick said at the time that he didn't know what that meant, but from that day on, that's how his free time was spent. He stole his old homework and finished tests. Fed white boys in the street who can spell their words the best. They'd always beat him, but they didn't think of this. Every word they beat him with, he would add it to his list. When he was older, Frederick stole so many books. He hid them where he slept to stay away from master's looks. He learned about freedom and about places far away. Yeah, he knew that his slavery was no way. When he learned to read, he also learned to write. He knew he couldn't get out of slavery without a fight. Unless he got a letter from his master, he's a prisoner. So we learned how to write a passing for signature. Now we understood his master's reason he gave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. When Frederick read confirmed what he knew all along, that freedom is for everyone and slavery is wrong. His reading and writing game was superhero strong. He had so many accomplishments, they need their own songs. Before I make those tracks, let me make one observation. The key of Frederick's freedom was that he stole his education. Didn't have the first through 12, but we learned it all with stealth. Didn't care what master felt. Reading gave him knowledge of self. So just like Frederick, read at every opportunity. And unlike Frederick, you got help in your community. The more ideas you have, the more likely you'll succeed. And books can give you all the ideas you need. From the dictionary to history, necessary. Now follow me to the library. Frederick used the skill to make sure his people were saved, because no one in the world is fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Friends, that was Fit to Be a Slave by yours truly, Baba Bomani, one of the signature songs that I use in the Frederick Douglass Writing Club. If you want to be free, if you want to be great, Frederick Douglass said the key is you have to agitate. So we learn to write and read and how to debate. FD Dub C 1838. Come bring your young writer this Sunday, 2 to 3 p.m. We are doing the Frederick Douglass Writing Club at the Public Playhouse. I would love to see you there. Please pass along the word. You know how serious I am about getting young people excited about literacy and telling the stories of our ancestors. I really appreciate that. The last thing I'm going to do today is play the Black Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing by J. Rosamond Johnson and James Weldon Johnson. Let's get to it. Friends, that was Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem by J. Rosamond Johnson and James Weldon Johnson. Friends, that has been my program. Thank you very much for joining me for the morning announcements. Let your friends know about the Frederick Douglass Writing Club happening this weekend on Sunday. There are 3 things that I need you to do today. Honor the ancestors, prepare the descendants, and love right now. When I count to 3, everybody say peace, throw up the deuces. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Peace.